you're watching this as part of a series, we're following the manufacturing process with MIE Trak Pro. So we've talked about quoting, scheduling, but now the parts need to get made. So we're going to find out how you do shop floor data capture to make sure the material or the parts come in to the right manufacturing cell, and how they get clocked out of the manufacturing cell. When you're making laser cut parts or CNC machine parts or any kind of manufactured parts, how do you know you're making money? Normally things are quoted with like a cost plus basis, and you need to know how much things are costing you to make, either in person hours or machine hours. Now, Tom, how do you make sure you're tracking your machine time and your person time correctly?
So I think really the key is shop floor data capture. The idea of shop floor data capture is a platform that operators on the shop floor can use to book on and off the jobs as they progress through the different stages of manufacture, and they can also issue materials to a job as well. I guess the feedback that's then received from that is, at a glance, users within the office can see exactly where a job is up to, how much has been spent on it so far in terms of profitability. Absolutely, and
profitability is the key focus of any business if they want to stay in business. But let's back up a little bit. How would people normally track where things are on the shop floor, which is really important for asset location, and how would they track kind of how much making a component is going to cost them, or even would they track how much it's going to cost them?
I think without shop floor data capture, it's a very, very hard task, albeit not impossible, but it would require someone to sit there and, I guess, first off, go and ask people on the shop floor where the job is up to, what operations it's still got to go through. From a costing perspective, again, I'd imagine that would be a big headache for someone to partake manually.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to sit there with a timer, and there's probably much better things. You've got to time your own time as well, then, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, once someone's thought about maybe taking on a shop floor data capture system, it sounds quite involved. I mean, do you have to kind of have a piece of hardware to scan things in every cell? How do you make sure your data is getting put into the system correctly, and how do you actually clock a part in?
Well, with MIE Solutions, there are actually several different options that are available. The first of which is our barcoding option, which are stationary barcode terminals. And with that method, the work orders or job cards that are given to the shop floor would have barcodes against each of the processes, but also the bill of materials. And essentially they scan the barcodes to either start or stop the process, and then the same for the bill of materials. They can scan it to issue it from stock and issue the cost of the material to the job. The other options we've then got are Kiosk, which is our interface version, i.e. you can install it on desktop PCs, laptops, even Windows-based tablets. And essentially does the same thing, but it's just a different method of input. Most people tend to use keyboard and mouse or touch screens, albeit you can plug in fairly cheap USB scanning devices and almost use it as a bit of a hybrid. With the Kiosk, however, there are benefits such as the ability to not go entirely paperless, but almost reduce the amount of paper that's being used. Examples of that are removing the need to print out job cards on the shop floor. Things like work to lists can be viewed electronically on the screen. Benefit of that efficiency-wise is that when a schedule is updated from within the main system, it automatically updates what they see through the kiosk screen itself.
And people, you were mentioning to me earlier, that people do like the kiosk system. Why is that? Because they get up-to-date information?
Very much up-to-date information. There is also a bit more bi-directional in the sense of they can, from the shop floor, raise things like engineering change requests if they've come across an issue with the job that they're working on. They can raise purchase order requests if they look at the box of gloves or PPE and see that it's running low. So yeah, as well as being able to reduce paper, it is also a bit more bi-directional in comparison to the barcoding.
It's nice that it sounds like it gives operators on the shop floor a bit more power than otherwise they would, because if you're just handed a piece of sheet and say go and do that job, and then you finish it and someone says, oh, it didn't need to be done until next week, we've changed the schedule, then you kind of probably feel a little bit out the loop. So it's nice that they get their own terminal, they can actually see what's happening, the same information the management can see as well.
Absolutely, live feed between the main ERP plus the shop floor data capture.
Brilliant. And are there any other options? I mean, in terms of how do people actually know if there's no job cards being printed out? Imagine there's a pallet somewhere in my machine shop. I've got 50 billets on it. How do I know what those billets are for if there's no job card on it?
So MIE Trak Pro and all of the shop floor data capture options integrate with our labelling inbuilt package. So most users, if they're not producing paper copies of job cards, they tend to produce what we call move tickets, just to stick onto the bin or the pallet to identify what parts are on there, how many, and what process they've got to go to next.
And can this work with any label printers? Do you have to buy label printers from yourself?
No, absolutely. We're compatible with any label printer out there. And some customers don't even use label printers. They just use standard A4 printers and produce them from
And just
there.
stick it on.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sure someone's probably got label printers sat in a corner somewhere they don't use. So if you take the software on, you can probably use whatever label printer you've got sat around, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Okay, so labeling is easy, but let's back up. We mentioned profitability, and in my opinion, Tom, that's the most important part of a business, to stay in business. How does shop floor data capture help make sure a business is making money?
So obviously when the job is first released, at least for a lot of parts, those parts would have been quoted through the system. So you've got your baseline in terms of how much we planned for that job from a budget perspective. As and when people book both time and materials to that work order via any of the shop floor data capture options that we've discussed, it starts to record the time and also therefore the cost. So at any point in time, each work order has its own costings grid, where it compares planned versus actual costs. So as the job is progressing, you can ensure that you're profitable, and also come the end of the job, once everything's been booked to it, you can see whether the estimators are accurate in the price that they gave.
And that is so important, because I would challenge some manufacturers who are watching this that if you actually I'd ask you to find out if you actually know if you're making money on specific jobs, because sometimes people will just look at the end of year stats and say, yep, we're in profit, not knowing what is the profitable job, what is the unprofitable job, what job they might have lost a couple of £1,000s on, who knows. So it's really important to keep track of all of that and allow you to eliminate those unprofitable jobs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now, if some manufacturers are watching this and are thinking, wow, I need to make sure I'm staying profitable on all of my jobs, not just some of the jobs, how do they get in touch?
Best way would be through our website, which is MIE-solutions.co.uk, at which they will find both our website, our email address, and also the contact us page.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom. And all that information will be on the screen right now.